Your men, my lord, will follow you to whatever end.
Yes, indeed. They will.
To whatever end.
I have to rewatch these movies.
For me, King Theoden's armor is some of the most beautiful work that we did on the film. Theoden being a king, there's layers and layers of detail in his armor. It was an absolute joy to put that kind of stuff in, because as a Tolkien fan, I could draw upon my knowledge and love of the books to try and
look at that detail.
Pull neat little things out of the bag. Theoden's armor is covered in heraldry and little stories. There are little scenes in his armor, acid etched of basic Rohirrim life. This is King Theoden's original.
It's so interesting that they would go so far above and beyond, considering the time constraints and budget, and because we couldn't see all of that detail in Theoden's armor on screen. So wonderful.
Comes through using the original materials that would have been used in our own medieval periods 500-600 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We even went to the extent of putting a golden sun emblem inside the armor, which will never be seen, but Bernard Hill saw it when he was putting it on and just went, oh, that's just so great. It makes me feel like a king, not an actor.
Makes me feel like a king, not an actor. I love that.
Same school of design, but not quite as ornate. It was originally designed to be green, but we thought that would maybe look a little garish for AMR, so it ended up being brown.
I remember the first time I went to walk, I just about keeled over. I was so unused to just the sheer weight of the costume.
We weighed it, just over 22 kilograms dry. It's a lot to carry around.
Once I took it on, I was pretty loath to take it off because it was quite a process. Going to the toilet was fun.
I did not notice who he was. Now I saw the clip of him.
10 feet wide.
Wow.
But I think the orcs had it worse, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah, the orcs had it pretty bad. Very interesting.
I remember when Richard came in.
Think about how heavy those
very excited.
uniforms
said,
are for
I
those
found
men.
a swordsmith, a sword maker. He's from Wellington. And I thought, my God, who are we going to meet this morning? And this big burly guy, who's sort of a cross between a librarian and a wrestler, came into the studio.
I got into making the weapons because I got into medieval reenactment. And
he's
early
the same
on,
guy from the other one, right?
I was very broke most of the time, so I couldn't afford to buy any good equipment, so I started making things.
Mm-hmm.
The swords he made, and he made hundreds of them for this film, are absolutely exquisite. They go from the
elven blades, he's the sword guy from the first video
to the swords of Rohan,
first, Fellowship of the Ring
to recreate.
The designers would give me a finished design drawn to scale, and I would basically make what they gave me, and sometimes just add a little bit to help with the translation from a two-dimensional drawing into a three-dimensional object.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, each one was anything from 3 to 6 days work.
Okay. 3 to 6 days work for one sword.
Peter was actually making real swords.
One of the coolest side effects of John Howe's involvement was that one of the first sets of swords that he got us to make was just he was so skilled in the art of swordplay, they'd basically take us out into the car park and proceed to beat the crap out of all of the workshop technicians.
Yes.
We used to spend a lot of time nicking each other's shins and elbows in the parking lot because it was either a game of basketball or a bit of fencing.
How fun is their job, right?
Drifting up from downstairs.
I mean, you wonder how they actually let me out there to do that, because
just fantastic.
I could have easily gotten my fingers bashed and been off work for a month,
Yeah.
I guess nobody was paying attention.
If I've got any health and safety issues, this is the moment I need to be right on the ball, because if someone gets slaughtered in the car park now, I'm never going to be able to explain this to the New Zealand
hyper-focused while you're playing with these swords.
The elven swords in the Third Age are different from what they would have looked like in the Second Age, because, like everything, design never stands still.
Right.
A lot of people come to me and say, but how come they have curved blades? How come they don't have straight blades on their swords? And I've always had to reply that, one, it wasn't my decision, so don't complain to me. But two, I think they're marvelous. I think that the design team at Weta, who actually came up with those in the first place, did a fabulous job, because they went, once again, deeper into this culture than you might spontaneously go. and went back and sought natural shapes that flow and have an energy that's built into their curves.
Okay.
Warren designed this beautiful weapon, which is a slightly curved single-edged blade with this very long handle on it. So you could use it two-handed, almost like a short star.
Yeah.
The nice curves through them. And there's a bit of detail through the
I didn't
handles
even
and the pommels
notice.
and up through the blade.
Everything was moving so
Definitely
fast.
The idea that they're very practical and they're purely for cutting. You know, that's what they do. So
that's why I like the appendices too, because it slows everything down so we can actually see what was happening.
And the fight coordinators to have
just wonderful. All the
they
work
made
that
up
they
these
put
big
into
foam
this.
versions of all the weapons to have a hit around with, and then that was seen. People, I quite like the feel of that.
Yeah.
So the blade went from a slim blade to the heavier blade we see on screen.
Okay.
And so you get this really quite unique looking weapon that we would never have thought to have drawn.
Right.
Through, serendipity. Very bizarre.
Yeah.
The culture of a country does have a lot to do with their approach to combat. Whether, for example, they use a lot of heavily armoured troops, or
watching this makes me
maybe,
just
for
so
example,
happy.
lightly armoured horse archers, and then their weapons reflect that.
Rohan is basically a horse culture, so therefore it's long lances and round shields and short swords, everything you can wield from horseback, because that's where you maintain your mobility and your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a Norse influence to their design. So a lot of their sword design is an extrapolation
These
of
illustrations.
Viking broadswords and things like that.
With King Theoden's
I wish I could put them all on
theory
screen
being
for you
the
guys to see,
longest held,
because
most deep and cultural inheritance.
it is just
As if it had
breathtaking.
possibly been handed down through generations till it was finally being worn at Theoden's side. This is his sword, which has a hand-ground spring steel blade, a double fuller down the length of the blade, and then the cross piece, the hilt, are all cast out of a lost wax casting process using bronze. A piece of calf skin is wet molded
Look how
onto
small
the
that handle
grip
is.
to create what is quite a beautiful looking piece of work.
It seems very small.
Now, Eormek's sword is asymmetrical. You can see the pony's heads wrapping around either side
Pony's
of the
heads
short,
wrapping
broad
around the
sword.
handle of the
So
sword.
it has to fit asymmetrically into the scabbard. It's got a beautiful, long, deep fuller down the length of the blade. Hand ground once again in spring steel here at the Weta Workshop.
The Uruk longsword and short sword are single-edged weapons, and essentially they're just very long, very heavy cleavers.
Mm.
The longest sword has a spike on the back, which meant that the Uruk could swing it back and spike somebody with it. So
These
they're not very
drawings are
elegant weapons.
unbelievable.
They're not very,
I hope you guys remember what they look like
but
from,
for a Uruk,
watching it over and over
It's
again.
just basically a sharpened blade of steel, held single-handed for deep, heavy thrusts.
And for the berserkers, they've got these huge double-edged swords that also have this sort of T-bar arrangement at the top, which gives them two spikes that they can swing and stab people with as well.
The concept behind them being that as they reach the top of the battlements, they'll flail heavily with these weapons, slicing the elves and the
Look at
Rohan
that.
off at their hips.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with crossbows, in reality, in real war, but also on film, is that they slow the action of battle down so much, because once you've fired them, you have to stop, drop them to the
Yeah, that's
ground,
true.
and windlass the string back into the firing mechanism.
Uh-huh.
So what we developed here was a pump-action crossbow, so that the
What?
soldier
Oh,
could
yeah.
rapidly load their bolt into the mechanism
Okay.
as they marched into war.
The crossbows that the
Genius.
Uruk army has are actually straight out of
Didn't even notice.
a 15th
How
century
can you?
German artillery
Everything
book.
was literally
This
just moving so
pump-action
fast.
crossbow is in this manual, and all that I did was
So yeah, that's
turn it into
another
something
reason
that
why I
was
love this,
from
is that it
design
slows
point of view
everything down and it
Uruk-hai.
explains everything. And so when you watch it, you know so much more about what is happening. It expands just the realm and adds so much depth and layers, and
behind me,
it's just
and
fantastic.
further away than that wall, there's about 10,000 of you guys
Okay, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and stop the editing for this particular video right here, and we will continue on with part 2 of the Weta Workshop next week. I really did enjoy myself, and I do appreciate you guys joining me. You know, it is really interesting to me how they are able to make learning about swords and armor, suit armor, like fascinating to me, like really truly entertaining to me. You know, because any other film I would not have been particularly interested in learning about, you know, how they put it together, put the fight scenes together, put the armor together, what everyone, the costumes together. But I'm just like hanging on to every word. It's so fascinating. I wonder if you guys had that same experience, because yeah, I guess this is like a universal thing, because I must say, when they mentioned, I forget the man's name, but he was the one who was responsible for bringing in all of his armor and onto the airplane, and he was so excited about the project that he forgot his own suitcase. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, I really did appreciate that. I appreciate them showing all of the armor, showing them just how much joy that they had, you know, putting this out there. They showed so much detail, I have to say. So yeah, it was fun. It was fun watching them get all dressed up in their armor, and then also watching them do their play fighting with the swords, which were real swords, by the way. I found that very shocking that they would do that in their spare time. But it just, the joy was palpable. They were just having so much fun, which made me have fun just watching it and learning about it. And you know, I mentioned a lot how fast the movie moves, right? It moves so fast, and I hadn't read the books, so there are a lot of things that I missed, of course. And when they started talking about the different factions within the Orcs army, and the different factions between the elves and all of that, and their different looks, and just, you know, the different weapons that they used. Like, I would never have known that because everything was moving so fast. So I love the appendices just because it slows everything down so much that I get to really enjoy and savor the detail that they put in it for us. I hope I know this the Lord of the Rings trilogy was viewed by millions of people, so I'm just hoping that millions of people also took the time to watch the appendices, because, you know, you would think that, well, for me, I was, you know, in a place of like disregarding the documentary, just because, you know, I've already seen the movie, so how good could the documentary be? But it's just so mind-blowing, so I'm just hoping that millions of people also had this same experience, because this is just really truly breathtaking. The illustrations that they put in, I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of them going from the illustration to the actual physical manifestation that looks so similar to the illustration itself. It's just too good. I've received the comment quite often that people enjoy the appendices even more than the movies, and I'm starting to get into that place, because I have to say, I've been watching these videos for quite some time, over months now, and they haven't skipped a beat. Like, it's just like outdoing itself. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I do appreciate you guys joining me, and I will see you again next week. Okay. So until next time, let's flow.